Thanks for tuning in to Watch the Ordinary Filmmaker. It's Sunday, November the 7th, 2021. And we don't have any announcements coming up. It's a rather slow time, correct? Well, not exactly. This out of China. This is an invitation for a Lumix event on November the 9th. November the 9th? Only 2 days notice. What could this be? Could this be the Panasonic GH6? We don't know. What about that new Lumix S 35mm f1.8? Again, we don't know. All we know at this point is that it's a Lumix event. Are you hopeful that it could be the Panasonic GH6? I get that. I understand that hope. I really wish it would be. I mean, I just published a video, or maybe this one's coming out first. I'm recording them both at the same time on SEPA numbers for September. And having a Panasonic GH6 announced now and available for sale later the month would be a huge boost to Panasonic's numbers. But I really don't think so. On their other event a couple of weeks ago, which was, there wasn't really much announced. It was just like, hey guys, what's going on? This is what we're planning. By the way, the Panasonic GH6, I know you're expecting for it. You're expecting it in 2021, as we said we were going to deliver it in 2021. Well, they said that it's still under development. And I can't imagine a whole lot has changed in 2 weeks, because you know what? If they were planning something, they wouldn't have said still in development. They might not have said anything at all. And they probably wouldn't even have had that meeting. They would have that presentation. They would have just had this one. So sadly, I hate to throw cold water on you, but I just don't expect to see the Panasonic GH6 being announced. I just don't know what to expect. I don't know whether I should get excited. And you know what? I'm not excited. I was let down by that last announcement. I was really expecting something more. An announcement of a product that, okay, might take 3 months before they finally release it to the market. But to actually say it's still under development, which leads us to believe that we're at least 6 months away from getting it. And I know what you're thinking. Sure, but it's going to make it a better camera. Yes, but at the same time, while they're making it a better camera, a lot of longtime faithful Panasonic users are starting to look at, well, okay, well, you know, that Sony a7 IV looks pretty good, or that A7S III or the Alpha 1, or they're looking to Canon and thinking, you know what, maybe I will consider the R6, the R5, or even the R3. And I'm not saying everybody is, but some people are starting to leave. I got a lot of comments saying, you know, I'm tired of this. I was really expecting the Panasonic GH6. It was supposed to be coming out last year, but we had a lot of problems last year. So for whatever reason, it's not ready this year. So if it was due to come out last year, did they look at the competition and say, okay, you know what, we can do this better, we can do this better, let's make this a better camera? I mean, after all, the Panasonic GH6 is supposed to sell for around $2,500. And that puts it right in the territory of a full-frame mirrorless camera like the Canon R6 and the Sony A7 IV, the recently announced camera. So I really don't know what Panasonic's working on right here. And I think that's the biggest frustration. If you have the Panasonic GH5 or you were looking towards the Panasonic GH6, if you want to stay with Micro Four Thirds, yes, the development announcement does shed some light on some pretty powerful video features, but a camera is more than just a couple of specifications. It's what are the outcomes? What can it do for us in terms of stills? How is it different or better than the competition? And when you're punching at a price of $2,500, you have to look at full frame and say, okay, what is full frame doing? How are we competing with full frame? And I just have to wonder what is causing Panasonic to take so long with the GH6. Now in 2020, they did come out and say, look, they're going to reevaluate their cameras. They're going to focus their strategy on developing cameras that excite, that are designed for video users. And maybe there is something in here that's taking them a little bit extra to develop. Maybe maybe the rumor is correct that they are moving towards face detect autofocus. And, you know, it takes a bit of time to develop and work out the kinks. I mean, the last thing they need to do is dump contrast detect autofocus with the improvements and introduce phase detect in an early form that's buggy. That's not going to help them. As soon as this camera comes out, it's going to be released to the wild. There's going to be tons of reviews. And if anything is subpar, that's what's going to be talked about, not the capabilities. And we can go back to the Canon R5 and look at it too. Despite being an incredible camera that literally did leapfrog the competition, it shocked a lot of us. On the video side, we had 8K video at up to 30 frames per second, uncropped, full sensor readout. We had 4K, which was 8K oversampled 4K. Again, no crop, with IBIS, with autofocus, phase detect autofocus, a better autofocus. And we haven't even talked about stills yet. We got 45 megapixels, 20 frames per second electronic. It was a huge leapfrog over what Canon had done before, and definitely a nod to the rest of the market saying, you know what, Canon is back. But it took so many years of Canon to get there, and a lot of us were leaving Canon. I was ready for the Sony a7S III. In fact, if the Sony a7S III had come out 3 or 4 months earlier, I would have bought that instead of the Canon. I was sick and tired of waiting. And a lot of people had moved away from Canon because of that, and that's what we're seeing with Panasonic. Yes, if they come out with something really, really amazing and powerful, like Canon did with the R5, it will drum up a lot of sales and might even bring people back. But the risk is you're only around 5% market share, Panasonic. Canon was at 46%. Canon can afford to take more time. And I know that Panasonic's got deep pockets, but Panasonic treats each of these divisions as separate companies. And if Panasonic doesn't perform, the future doesn't look as bright. I'm not going to say anything other than that. I want to see the GH6. When I was looking at buying a replacement to my Canon 70D right here, this guy here, I spent a lot of time looking at the GH5, and the review by DP Review by Chris and Jordan, that's some 30 minutes long, was one of the best videos I'd seen. If you're thinking about the GH5, watch that video. And the only thing that held me off is autofocus. I'm a one-man shooting show, and I do a lot of run and gun. So for me, that autofocus system, especially back then, it's not as reliable as it is today, was the one reason I didn't get it. But I loved that GH5. I still love that GH5. And I want that GH6 to be everything it possibly can. And one other thing I think is really important too, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Your likes and subscribes, I take them as a virtual pat on the back, and it really does help this channel grow. We're on the verge of hitting 24,000 subscribers today. Can we make it? Can we get to that 24,000 subscribers? Please go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, post them in the comment section down below. As you can see from all my videos, not just this one here, I do a very good job, especially in that first hour, of responding to comments. Now, today's Sunday, so I'm going to be spending time with my family, so I might not be as responsive as I normally am, but I can guarantee you at some point today I'm going to go by and look at all those comments and reply and answer your questions. But thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.